Hi, I'm Gail Sexton Anderson, the founder of Donor Concierge and Tulip Fertility, the first national database with close to 20,000 egg donors. I have a master's in counseling from Harvard Graduate School of Education, and I've spent about 25 years helping future parents to find the best possible egg donor to create their family, as well as often helping them to find a gestational carrier, or a surrogate as we often call them. Secondary infertility is what I really want to focus on today. And secondary infertility is something that you may not necessarily be aware of, or many people aren't aware of what that even means. But what it means is that you've had one child, or maybe even more than one child. You don't feel like your family is quite complete. But now, in order to go forward to have another child, you need to use an egg donor. And if you're watching this, you're probably very much familiar with what secondary infertility is. So when it comes to going through secondary infertility, it can take a lot longer. If it's taken a lot longer to conceive, you're probably feeling very frustrated. You may have had some miscarriages. I actually had experienced this between my two children, because it took me much longer to conceive my second child than my first child, and I had a miscarriage in between. Everyone has a dream of exactly what they see as being their complete family and what that may look like and feel like for them. And we often have, we form these thoughts quite often when we're children. Or sometimes when we're dating and just talking to our partner about, what we see as being sort of our ideal family. Whatever that dream is, it's what you have your heart set on, and it's hard to let go of that. And, whether that means you've been dreaming of having 2 children or dreaming of having 6 children, it's your dream, and really no one should make you feel guilty for, wanting more than you have. But the trouble is that sometimes you may be made to feel a bit guilty if you've already had one child, that somehow you're being selfish for wanting to have another child, and that you may just give up. You may decide that maybe this is where your family building needs to end, and that's certainly understandable with the cost of going through fertility treatment. But it doesn't have to be the end. I've worked with many couples who have had one child or more and had a very strong desire to have another child and feel like their family is complete. It's up to you to decide what the ideal size of your family is. You should also be aware that 3.3 million women have secondary infertility. So you're definitely not alone in this. Secondary infertility is often overlooked. Parents often feel that they are being selfish for wanting more. Infertile couples with no children get more understanding and support than those who have one or more children, but then can't achieve any other pregnancies on their own. It can at times be more of a challenge for intended parents to make a decision to choose an egg donor if they already have one genetic child. Part of that is because they're trying to find an egg donor that they believe will help them create a child that fits with the child they already have. So not only someone that maybe, looks like the mother, but also, looks like the child that they have now. Sometimes expectations are higher to have the donor look like the mother or the genetic child. Once you have a child that you love all of your with all your heart, it's hard to imagine that another child can ever be as wonderful as the first. This is true regardless of biological connection. I remember when I finally became pregnant with our second child, having a conversation with my husband, hoping that our second child would be a girl, since our first child was a boy. Because after all, our son was the most wonderful boy in the world, and there could not be 2 most wonderful boys in the world. Parent logic, I suppose. The good news is that parents have room in their hearts to love many children. So no matter how they come into your family, we love and appreciate each child for exactly who they are, because they're all individuals. I've worked with many families who have experienced secondary infertility, and though they may be struggling at times with picking their egg donor, in the end, they welcome their next child. They love that child just as much without reservation. Each child was meant to be part of your family. Some of the things I recommend are: 1, seek help. It may be helpful for parents looking to add to their families via egg donation to seek counseling. There are amazing counselors who specialize in third-party fertility. Their role is not to tell you you can or you can't become a parent. What they're there to help you with is to think through and work through the emotions that you may be experiencing so that you can get to a point where you're ready for this. Choosing a donor, wherever you are in your family building, is not something that comes naturally. It's something that it's sort of a slow evolution where your mind and your heart slowly opens to the idea that this is an amazing possibility that you can now add to your family, hopefully carry a child, and have the size family and that you've always been dreaming of. You probably have friends or family who have gone through the same, who have not gone through the same experience, and so you don't really have a sounding board for someone that you can talk to about what you're going through. But if you're working with a counselor, that's something that they have helped many people who are facing the same dilemma, and they can help you as well. You are not alone. The things that you may be considering about such as differences can occur even in our children, if our children share all the same genetic connections. Who has not had at some point when they were growing up that thought, what am I doing in this family? I must have been switched at birth. These siblings can't possibly be related to me. We all go through this. The difference being, if you know you've created your family using an egg donor, then you may be much more self-conscious about this sort of thing, but it's a very normal thing, regardless of the genetic connection. We all know siblings that have the same parents who don't look or act anything alike and get along beautifully. We also know siblings that have the same genetic parents who look very much alike, but they can't get along for 2 minutes. These things happen whether you're genetically related to your siblings 100% or not. Number 3, let go. There are dozens of ways to form families, and any combination can be wonderful. Whenever an intended parent decides on using an egg donor, they need to be able to leave themselves behind enough that they are not looking to replace themselves, because we are all very, very unique. And if you're trying to replace yourself or find someone that's just like your child that you currently have, you're just going to be frustrated, and that makes it very difficult. 4, we are not in control, and sometimes that's a good thing. We're all unique, and we can't control who our children will be, regardless of our genetic connection or lack thereof. It's important to appreciate your donor for who they are, not because they're just like you, your firstborn, or anyone else. Each child is going to be a very unique individual. They're not going to be just like the donor or any other person. They're going to be a totally unique person. We are all unique. No matter whose genetic blend you use to make your child, there's no way of predicting the outcome. Our children will be different from our fantasies, and we will love them for who they are, and even for who they are not. Being a parent is about raising people who are different than we are. If you can be comfortable with this idea, it's a good idea to actually include your child, depending on their age, the one you already have, that is, in the process of, maybe not so much choosing your donor, but in the creation story of how your family became your family. And there are many ways that you can do that. You can create basically what we used to call a scrapbook, but these days you can actually have them be something where you can use one of the programs where you can put a bunch of pictures together, where the stars of this story are you, the parents, your son or daughter that you currently have, everyone in the family that's supporting you as you go forward with choosing your donor and then creating the donor. So the supporting cast are the doctors and the grandparents and your child. And it's something that you can put together in a little book that you can then share both with the child you currently have as well as the child that you're about to have, so that they all have a very clear idea of kind of how your family was brought together, how you created your family. I always recommend that intended parents be very open with their children, because you do, things that secrets in families get to be sort of the elephant in the room. It's always much better if you're very open and transparent with, how you've created your family. So I always recommend that you start, sharing these stories, from a very early age. As soon as your baby can sit up, you want to start sharing about, how our family was formed. Children love stories about their family. And the more you can also involve your current child in, maybe helping to pick names, helping to pick colors for the bedroom, a lot of different things that are, you would do anyway. It's a good idea so that they feel very much involved with, welcoming their new sibling.